Alright there, geezers, Jules here from FGS, home of the Future Game Show, and you know what? Much like my forehead through my mid-20s as male pattern baldness consumed my hairline, video games nowadays are all about expansions, or more specifically, about microtransactions and stanky DLC. And while many of these paid unlocks are, like I said, really stinky or totally something that should have been provided in the game for gratis, there are some truly exceptional expansions that not only change how a title looks or plays, but honestly change everything. So let's have a chat, as I'm Jules, this is FGS, and these are 8 video game expansions that change everything. Number 8, GTA London 1969. Now you might have known by now, thanks to my propensity for using the word geezer in each and every video, that I'm quite the fan of East End London gangster films. From Lock, Stock to Snatch to CCTV footage of a bunch of youths robbing an Aldi with naught but hammers and those silly little high-waisted shoulder bags, I drink it in, mate. So of course I'm going to jump at the chance to talk about the oft-forgotten GTA expansion of the original game, GTA London 1969. Ooh baby. When I say jumped, I was like 10 at the time this expansion came out, so likely was too busy watching Street Sharks or Mummies Alive, but if I was legally allowed to play this game, I would have spent all of my pocket money on it, only likely to have my little heart broken realising that you needed the actual base game in order to run this expansion. I wasn't a smart kid. But don't feel too sorry for little Jules though, as he finally got his wish to play this game years later, and ye gods does it change absolutely everything about the instant classic original, as here we're transported to a hippie-filled London in order to beat, maim and murder the pixelated population. Plus I can't even do like a Ross Kemp voice here, because it just ends up just being like a Godfather thing, like, hey, it's me, Ross Kemp. I'm scared of gangs. Hey. Plus the voice acting in this expansion, it was atrocious. Caleb, play some of it, please.
We're looking for a lad who can do his stuff. I've heard you're a bit tasty.
Now that's good voice acting. That you can buy for £1. Now it's about here that I bet you're wondering, but Jules, you sleep-deprived cream egg, this all sounds like the original GTA game with a rushed London aesthetic slapped all over it. How did this change everything, as the title of this video suggests? Well friend, this expansion changed the game when it came to the PlayStation 1, as it was the first expansion to have you actually switch games on the fly. For the first time ever, the player was asked to open the case whilst the original GTA game was still spinning, stop it, and plop this new title inside, thus making you into a bedroom DJ of your own making. Okay, let's go. So yes, while the gameplay was pretty similar to the original, the method to unlock said gameplay was pretty groundbreaking, so there we go. Number 7, Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty and 2.0 update. Right, so let's face facts. When it came to Cyberpunk 2077's launch, only the Titanic could have boasted a worse opening weekend. I mean, you had a huge array of gameplay problems, you had brain-dead AI, you had bugs aplenty, and of course, you had a frame rate that went into slideshow territory at times, and everything seemed like CD Projekt Red's magnum opus was actually just some drunk dude who'd swilled a magnum piss and was about to take it out on you. Yet from the ashes came constant updates, tweaks and additions by the team, all of which acted as an apology to the fanbase that had been burned so badly in those opening weeks. And as if to add a full stop onto the matter, we have the recently released 2.0 update and accompanying Phantom Liberty DLC that look to change, well, everything. I mean, where to begin with a 2.0 expansion, or should you even call this a total revision, because that is what it really is, a compilation of changes that affect the movement, gunplay and character building, all thanks to a newly implemented skill tree, and all of which make for a much more granular and engaging experience. Then there's the vehicular combat, a complete rebalancing of the AI, the confirmation that the Edge Runners anime has become in-game canon and has builds suited to fan-favourite characters, and of course the ability to deflect bullets with a katana, which, and I know that I'm not stepping into the realms of hyperbole here, is as good as the second coming of Jesus Christ. And as if this wasn't enough, you can then take all of these new elements into the Phantom Liberty DLC, which, after speaking to James Daly about it, who had early access to the feature, tells me it's full of game-changing and rather fittingly bleak outcomes for beloved characters both new and old. Now, I won't venture into spoiler territory here, but I've been told that this is a fitting swan song for this game, and you know what? The original title could only dream of having people pine for it as much as they will be after finishing this. And speaking of dreams, why don't you stop sleeping on that subscribe button, my friend, because I've been told through the analytics that a fair few of you watching this aren't subscribed to the FGS channel. Do it, mate. Come on, do yourself a favour. And I'll tell you what, I'll even sweeten the pot, alright? If you click subscribe right now, I'll make sure that the next entry is a super spicy deep cut. Deal? 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 Okay then. Number 6, X-Men: The Ravages of Apocalypse. Now, I don't know about you, friend, but I bloody love the X-Men IP. I love the varied mutant powers. I love that the true force of Bold is shown in full force thanks to Charles Xavier. And of course, I love the myriad games that have come from this franchise, because you know what? When they're good, they're great. And when they're weird, as is the case of Ravages of Apocalypse, they're somehow even better. For you see, this is a video game expansion that truly changed everything about the game it was attached to. And that was for a very simple reason, because this was an expansion that turned the original Quake video game into a brand new X-Men-centric experience, complete with special mutant powers, fan-favourite characters in their traditional attires, and even a few boss battles thrown into the mix. And I know what you're thinking to yourself here, whoa, a Quake X-Men crossover? That sounds absolutely brilliant and mad, and yes, you're right, it is, but things are about to take a dive quicker than the film's quality when the Dark Phoenix plot squirted itself out into the cinemas, because you see, this expansion right here isn't an official expansion for Quake. No, no, no. It was actually an unofficial expansion that basically used Quake to piggyback off of it and load in its own levels and character models. But here's the real twist. Even though it was an unofficial mod, Marvel actually licensed it and gave it a full physical release, meaning that you've got an unofficial mod that was officially supported by somebody who had nothing to do with the original video game. I told you it was a deep cut, and I told you it was going to be spicy. Got through it. Good. Number 5, Donkey Kong 64. Now I know there's probably a fair few people with a master's in monkeying around that are likely choking on a banana at the thought of me suggesting that there's a DK64 expansion that they've probably never heard of. But fret not, my friends, I'm just DKing around a little bit here. For there is no actual official video game expansion for this stunning simian simulator, but in fact, what I'm going to be talking about is what DK64 asked you to shove in your slot. No, your controller, you dirty apes. Come on. When Donkey Kong 64 was preparing to be shipped, the team at Rare came across a rather nasty bug. So nasty, in fact, that the game would straight up crash at certain points because of it. Unfortunately, it was determined that locating and eliminating the bug responsible was impossible, as it was due to the game resource spiking in places and exceeding the hardware limitations. Therefore, Nintendo came up with a rather mad solution, that being that each game would be shipped with a Nintendo 64 expansion pack for free, which doubled the console's RAM from 4 to 8 megabytes. 8 megabytes? God, I don't know if I can handle that much power. And calculators got more than that. This in turn fixed the bug and gave gamers access to a device that could also improve the quality of other games on their system, so it was a win-win, even if it did likely cost Ninty a fair few quid in sales. So there you go, you've got an expansion pack that is technically allowed to be on this list that did change everything by allowing you to play the f***ing game. Number 4, Diablo 2 Lord of Destruction. Now, despite the weird, hey, thanks for all the support and love, now pay up, f***ers mentality that Diablo is running with these days,
Do you guys not have phones?
yeah, there is no denying the sheer heft that Diablo 2 hit the scene with way back way. It was nigh on impossible to walk through the halls of my school and not hear groups of greasy nerds talking about this game or the mad character specs that they were using on their 20th run through hell and back. It was also one of the first games ever that I played online, and that torturous dial-up connection noise is now permanently seared into my brain at this point in time. Bidoo, bidoo, bidoo. Greatest hits, mate, greatest hits. Yet like a fool, I thought to myself that Diablo 2 could never get any better, that it was the perfect game, but oh, Lords of Destruction came along and slapped that notion right out the side of my ears. This colossal upgrade added in new classes, enemies, and areas, which was pretty fucking awesome, obviously, but the best addition that revolutionized the entire experience was the addition of runes and gems. These random bits of loot each contained stat boosts and sometimes magical effects that could be fused into weapons and armor in certain order to turn them into bespoke mythical ones. And just like that, the entire tone of Diablo 2 changed for the better, I would argue, because while this game was always about looting and grinding, here, because of the fact that once the runes and gems were in, you couldn't remove them without destroying and trying again, it became a process of experimentation, and me and my friends would meet online to share recipes that we'd cooked up, and then just keep trying to break and put new stuff in, just shoving it all over the place, and it was absolutely amazing, because once you stumbled across like a special combination that completely changed the way that your character build was going, of course you never shared that knowledge, you just beat your friends in PvP, and then they learned the hard way. What a time to be alive, eh? What a time to be alive. Number 3, Warehouse and Logistics Simulator, Hell's Warehouse DLC. We all likely remember our first ever job, overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. I mean, even though it's been a long time since I've moved away from jobs like that, I still look back at the early days of my careers and just go like, ooh, what's this? What's happening? I'm clenching my fist all of a sudden. Ooh. What am I going to do though? I mean, look at me. Couldn't find myself, couldn't find my way out of a wet paper bag. Still, it could be worse. I mean, you could be working a warehouse job where the phrase welcome to hell had a very different meaning. Say hello to Warehouse and Logistics Simulator, a title released in 2014 which lets you enter the thrilling world of pallet moving and stacking and driving a forklift around at 3 miles an hour. Whew, calm down, I don't think I can handle all of this amazing adrenaline rush.
Remember, no rushing.
It was pretty boring to say the least, and didn't have the same sort of calming, cozy vibe that the likes of Euro Truck Simulator would end up capturing. However, there was one thing that made this game stand out from the pack, and that was the utterly batshit DLC, Hell's Warehouse. With this DLC installed, your daily routine of not trying to spill 3 slabs of manure all over yourself was upended by a zombie apocalypse, and now your only goal was to escape a labyrinth filled to the brim with the undead, who for some reason really hate your forklift, and they would just try and batter the crap out of it any time it went past. Thankfully, the zombies themselves appear to be made out of wet cardboard tubes filled with jelly because they explode when you so much as graze them. This, coupled with the fact that the power-ups you could grab, like explosives, barely worked half the time, and the issue of the level going on for way too long, made Hell's Warehouse an amusing but altogether painful experience. Yet that's not the point of this list, is it, my friend? Because I never said that the expansions were going to be good, I just said that they would change everything. And when you go Warehouse and Logistics Simulator to Zombie Apocalypse, I'd say it fills the role quite nicely. Number 2, XCOM 2 War of the Chosen. That does not sound good. But either way, it is time for old Julesy to start licking the whole of XCOM 2 once more. Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it? It's one of my favourite video game franchises ever made. Of course, I'm going to wax lyrical about it every chance I get because I want more people to play it, even if most of the people that have actually played it usually meet me at conventions or just like out in the wild and just go like, oh, XCOM 2 is really difficult, isn't it? I had the worst time of my life. And I'm like, yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? I got something wrong with me. But anyway, let's talk about XCOM 2's DLC, War of the Chosen, which I would argue may be amongst the greatest ever release. Duh. Now, this video game expansion is the answer of, oh god, yes, to the question of, do you think that we should maybe make things even harder for XCOM fans? Immediately off the bat, veterans of the base game will be hit with new enemies, new weapons and skills, plus the introduction of 3 super enemies called the Chosen, who can and will ruin your best laid plans by appearing randomly across missions with skills so utterly potent that they make your best warriors look like little boo-hoo babies. These truly became hated encounters, and were even worse because the Chosen all appeared to have got a master's at the School of Villain Mugging because they would chastise you every chance they got. Ooh, pathetic human. Ooh, tiny little human. Oh, what are you gonna do? Weep uncontrollably into your love pillow. Ooh, ooh. Couldn't get the stains out. And then they do all of that before then snapping your spine. Cheers! Yet they're not the only new faces, as new rebel groups also appear in this game, each with a heavy distrust of the others, and who you must decide to aid in order for some sweet rewards. But it's not all doom and gloom though, because you can now instantly complete some research projects thanks to breakthroughs which improves the flow of the game dramatically. All in all, this expansion is kind of like a perpetual heart attack dragged out over about, 20 hours or so, and I absolutely love it. Because when it comes to the challenge, that's upped, and that's why I play these games in the first place, but also the day-to-day improvements and flow improvement, the speed of the game just feels so much quicker. It makes the game much more fun and engaging overall. So yeah, it's 2 thumbs up from this fleshy meat bag. And number 1, Dead Rising 2 off the record. And so we close on what I actually do consider to be a bit of a deep cut, because loads of people I know have played the Dead Rising franchise and were thoroughly burned by Dead Rising 4, but very few of whom have gone back to play Dead Rising 2 off the record, which I know is technically a standalone video game rather than an expansion, but because of the fact that it retreads the entire events of Red Dead 2, of Dead Rising 2, I still think that it counts for this entry here. Plus, I just want more people to fucking play it. Whereas in the original game you played as Chuck Green, who was on a desperate quest to save his daughter, in this version you return to the cheap suits and clackety shoes of Frank West, who has become so disillusioned with the world and pissed away all of his fortunes that he's now wound up debasing himself for money at the start of the game. I know that all too well, Frankie boy. I've just joined Cameo. I actually did get an email through from someone to say to join Cameo. Is that something that people would actually want me to do? I don't know. I was always thinking about this. If I did it, I'd want to try and arrange it so that like half of the proceeds went to charity or something like that. Let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. Should I do the thing of talking, which I'm not that very good at? Plus Frank is still very much infected from the original title and so needs a daily dose of Zombrex to keep his brain intact and his stomach lining free of the brains of others. As a result of this rather massive switch, everything that you thought you knew about Dead Rising 2 has completely changed, and it even goes so far as the weapon placements and location of other survivors and even the requirements you need for them to follow you, and also the main villain of this game has changed as well. Plus there's a brand new area to explore. There's so much good in this game that, like I said before, it's a shame that other people haven't played it. Plus there's the admittedly quite emotional crossing of paths between the 2 games' protagonists, as Frank now encounters Chuck, and let's just say that his daughter, well, she ain't doing so well. So all in all, if you're looking for a fresh take on some well-worn ground, you can't do much better than Dead Rising 2 off the record. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game expansions that changed everything. I hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. And before you go, my friends, why not subscribe, like I said before, to the FGS YouTube channel, because it really helps us out in these early growing days. All of your support, it truly means a lot, and I love seeing familiar faces coming back to these videos. So big love to you, my friends. And also, if you want to spread the love, then why not go follow me over here on the social medias, or you can follow Kayla over on her social medias over here. So let me know what... Wait, am I doing that? I'll just do a hard cut there. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Sometimes it can feel a bit daunting to try and change everything, because I know from personal experience, you can wake up one day and just think, I don't like how this is going. Let's try and just change everything. And you know what? That can be really difficult to take everything all on at once. Try each day to change one thing, or at least move towards one single goal, because you'll find that once those dominoes start falling, it becomes so much easier. For example, I tried to do like a diet change, weight loss. I tried to do loads of other things like yoga and stuff like that, and it was all getting a bit like, I need to focus on one thing in order to do that one thing well, and the others eventually became easier as a result. That's just a little personal bit there. It might help you, it might not, but I hope that you're having a nice day either way. Hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, because you bloody well deserve it. I've got a frog in my throat of emotion. Until next week, I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone. Oh, dear me. Oh, dear me.